Alright, in this video we are going to look at direct variation, inverse variation, and joint variation. We're just going to look at the relationships. Now, for direct, it is when we say y equals some constant times x. Alright? Direct variation, this is the relationship between the x and the y. Some number is directly multiplied times the x to give you a value of y. Now, if I were to solve this for the constant k, that means having x and y on the same side of the equal sign, it would be y divided by x equals a constant k. So one way to test for direct variation is take all the y values, divide by all the x values. If you always get the same number, then your relationship is direct variation. All right, now inverse variation is this. Y equals some constant k divided by x. Okay? In other words, y equals the inverse of x times k. Alright? It's like saying 1 over x times k, which gives you k over x. Now, if I were to multiply both sides by x to have x and y on the same side of the equal sign, I would get x times y equals some constant k. Now, that constant, no matter what, if you had like a set of points, every time if you multiply the x's times the y's, if you get the exact same number, then that is inverse variation. Okay, now joint variation uses generally 3 variables and sometimes more. Okay, I could say that z varies jointly with x and y. So z would equal some constant k times x times y. It's related to the direct variation, but there's more variables. So z varies jointly with x and y. That's how we would say this one. Now, let's look at a problem to where we're going to decide if we have direct variation, inverse variation, or neither one. All right, so if I were to make a table and I have x values and y values. All right, my x value, when x is 3, y is 14. When x is 5, y is 8.4. When x is 7, y is 6. And when x is 10.5, y is 4. Okay, we are actually told to test whether we have direct variation or inverse variation. Why not joint? Only 2 variables. That's why. Okay? And so, if you look at where x and y are on the same side of the equal sign, if you divide y divided by x and you get the same number every time, then you would have direct variation. If you multiply the x times the y and you get the same number every time, then you would have inverse variation. And if neither one of those work, then you have neither. So let's try this. So if I take 14 divided by 3, so 14 over 3, because it's y divided by x, that gives me 4.6 and it repeats. Okay? Then I take 8.4 and I divide it by 5. So take a calculator, push 8.4 divided by 5. I get 1.6. So what does this tell me? It's not direct. I don't have to keep going with all of these because they don't all give me the same k. Got to get the same constant k. So I'm going to try multiplying them now. So if I take 3 times 14 to test for inverse variation, 3 times 14, that equals 42. If I take 5 times 8.4 in a calculator, so 5 times 8.4, I get 42. If I take 7 times 6, well, that gives me 42. And if I take 10.5 times 4, well, I put that in my calculator and I got 42. You notice I got the same number every time? So what does that tell me? It tells me that this is inverse variation. So that's how you can tell them apart and how you can tell if a set of data is direct or inverse variation. All right, have a great day.